So, grab a cup of tea, get comfortable, and let's travel back to the very beginning. Our story starts thousands of years ago, along the fertile banks of the Yellow River. This region is often called the cradle of Chinese civilization, and for good reason. Imagine early communities learning to work with the land. They weren't just surviving, they were thriving. They developed farming, crafted tools from stone and bone, and, most importantly, figured out how to tame the mighty river with sophisticated irrigation systems. These weren't just agricultural feats. They were the building blocks of society. People came together, organized their labor, and created the first social structures, laying the groundwork for a culture that would endure for millennia. It was here, in the rich soil of the Yellow River Valley, that the seeds of a future superpower were sown. From these early settlements, the first great dynasties began to rise, each leaving an indelible mark on China's soul. Let's talk about the Shang dynasty, which emerged around 1600 BC. The Shang gave us one of the most precious gifts to historians: the earliest form of Chinese writing. We find it etched into oracle bone sturtle shells and animal bones used for divination. Priests would carve questions, heat the bones until they cracked, and then interpret the patterns to predict the future. These weren't just fortunes. They were royal archives, recording military campaigns, harvests, and royal births. Alongside these bones, the Shang were masters of bronze casting, creating intricate ceremonial vessels that are still considered masterpieces of art and engineering today. These artifacts aren't just museum pieces. They read a direct link to the minds and beliefs of people who lived over 3,000 years ago. Following the Shang, the Zhou dynasty took power, and they introduced a concept that would define Chinese politics for the next 3,000 years: the Mandate of Heaven. This was a brilliant, powerful idea. It stated that a ruler's right to govern was not based on noble birth alone, but was granted by a divine, cosmic force, heaven. A just and wise ruler would enjoy heaven's favor, bringing peace and prosperity to the land. But if a ruler became corrupt or incompetent, and disaster struck in the form of famine, floods, or invasions, it was seen as a sign that they had lost the mandate. This gave the people a legitimate reason to overthrow a failing dynasty and for a new one to take its place. It created a cycle of change, a dynamic push and pull between the rulers and the ruled that shaped the very rhythm of Chinese history. The end of the Zhou dynasty was a chaotic period, but out of this chaos rose one of the most influential dynasties of all: the Han. From 206 BC to 228, the Han dynasty forged a unified and powerful empire. They consolidated the vast territories first brought together by Qin Shi Huang, establishing a centralized government and a common culture that would become the bedrock of Chinese identity. In fact, to this day, the majority ethnic group in China refers to themselves as the Han people. The Han dynasty was an era of unprecedented progress. They established the legendary Silk Road, a network of trade routes that stretched from China all the way to the Roman Empire. Silk, spices, and precious goods flowed west, while gold, new ideas, and cultural influences flowed east. China became a powerhouse of the ancient world, a vibrant center of trade, science, and art, whose influence was felt across continents. But China's impact on the world wasn't just through trade. It was a crucible of invention, producing what are often called the four great inventions that fundamentally changed the course of human history. First, there was paper. Before the Han dynasty perfected papermaking, records were kept on cumbersome bamboo strips or expensive silk. Paper made knowledge accessible, portable, and affordable. It revolutionized administration and education, allowing ideas to be recorded and shared like never before. It was the internet of its time, unlocking a new era of learning. Then came gunpowder, originally discovered by Daoist alchemists searching for an elixir of immortality. This explosive powder would, ironically, reshape the face of warfare forever. From fireworks to fire lances, and eventually cannons, gunpowder gave Chinese armies a formidable edge and would eventually spread across the globe, changing the balance of power everywhere it went. Next, the compass. Long before European explorers, Chinese sailors were using a magnetic spoon floating in a bowl of water to navigate the seas. This simple yet revolutionary device allowed them to venture further from the coast with confidence, opening up new maritime trade routes and expanding China's sphere of influence across the oceans. It literally pointed the way to a more connected world. And finally, printing. While early forms of woodblock printing existed for centuries, it was during the Shang Dynasty that Shang invented movable type using individual baked clay characters. This was a quantum leap forward. It made it possible to produce books quickly and in large quantities. Suddenly, classical texts, philosophical treatises, and new literature could be distributed far and wide, spreading literacy and ideas to a much broader audience. It was the dawn of mass communication, centuries before Gutenberg's press in Europe. These inventions are staggering. But to truly understand China, we have to look beyond technology and into its heart and soul. Its philosophy. During a period of turmoil, known as the 100 Schools of Thought, brilliant minds wrestled with the biggest questions of life, society, and governance. The most influential of these was Confucius. He wasn't a religious prophet, but a practical teacher who focused on creating a just and harmonious society. His teachings emphasized morality, filial piety, respect for one's parents and ancestors, and a deep reverence for order and social hierarchy. He believed that if everyone fulfilled their role, from the emperor down to the farmer, society would prosper. Confucianism became the official state ideology for centuries, shaping family life, education, and government. At the same time, another profound philosophy emerged. Daoism, attributed to the sage Laozi, Daoism, offered a different path. Instead of focusing on social rules, it encouraged people to seek harmony with the natural, underlying flow of the universe. It celebrated simplicity, spontaneity, and living in balance with nature. Where Confucianism was about structure and society, Daoism was about freedom and the individual's connection to the cosmos. The famous concept of yin and yang, the idea of balancing opposing forces, comes from Taoist thought. Together, Confucianism and Taoism provided a rich, complementary framework that nurtured the spiritual and social life of China for generations. Of course, China's long history was not one of unbroken peace. It was a story punctuated by dramatic cycles of collapse and rebirth. Dynasties would grow powerful, then become corrupt and weak, eventually falling to peasant rebellions or foreign invasions. The Mongol invasion in the 13th century, led by Kublai Khan, established the Yuan dynasty. Later, the Manchus from the north swept in to create the Qing dynasty, China's last imperial dynasty. Each invasion was a profound shock to the system, and yet, something remarkable happened time and time again. Instead of destroying Chinese culture, the conquerors were often absorbed by it. They adopted Chinese systems of government, embraced its philosophies, and continued its artistic traditions. This incredible ability to endure, to adapt, and to assimilate new influences while preserving its core identity is perhaps the most defining feature of Chinese civilization. It's a testament to the strength and depth of its cultural roots. Today, China is a nation transformed. The 20th century brought immense upheaval, the fall of the last emperor, civil war, and revolutionary change. But from that turmoil, modern China has emerged as a major global power. Its gleaming skyscrapers, high-speed trains, and technological advancements stand in stark contrast to the ancient temples and palaces. Yet, the past is never far away. The wisdom of Confucius still informs family values. The principles of harmony from Daoism can be seen in traditional arts, and the spirit of innovation that gave us paper and printing now fuels its push into artificial intelligence and space exploration. The story of China is a continuous thread, weaving the ancient into the modern. It has a civilization that carries the immense weight and wisdom of its 5,000-year history as it steps boldly into the future. Thank you so much for joining me on this incredible journey through the history of China. It's a story so vast and rich, we've only just scratched the surface. If you enjoyed this video and want to explore more stories from our amazing world, please hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. Let me know in the comments which part of Chinese history you find most fascinating. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.